Good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone to our meeting this morning. Welcome to all members of council who are joining us in person and virtually, especially virtually celebrating St. Patrick's Day. And happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. Welcome to our staff that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of all residents of our municipality, full-time and seasonal residents. Welcome also to any members of the public that are joining us and the media this morning. Meetings of council are live streamed on the Township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to indicate at this time of any agenda item that we have today? Thank you. We have two sets of minutes, that being the council meeting of March 3rd and the public meeting. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of these minutes, please. Councillor Blake moves and Councillor Forrester seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopt the minutes as provided in items 3.1 and 3.2. Are there any questions on either of these sets of minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to regarding any agenda item that we have today. Are there any members of the public that would like to make any comments at this time? Seeing none, we have no delegations or public meetings today, so we'll move on to Treasury under 6.1, and that is the payment of the current accounts, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves, Councillor Miltenberg seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby authorizes the payment of the March 2026 accounts as presented. Do we have any questions on these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.2 is the payment of the previous month's actual accounts, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Hickey moves, Councillor Forrester seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby approves the payment of the February 2026 accounts in the amount of $1,245,362.17. Are there any questions on any of these lines? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.3 is the summary revenue/expenditure reports, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Blake moves, Councillor Snoblin seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council adopts the summary revenue/expenditure reports as written for the Township, the Lucknow and District Medical Center, and the Lucknow and District Recreation from January to February of 2026. Are there any questions on any of these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.4 is the development charges for purpose-built rental housing. It is a report supplied to us by our treasurer, Ellen McManus. It is for information purposes. Do we have any questions on this report? Deputy Mayor Vanstone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this is Thursday, Joy. The rental down here at the school, does it fit into any of this, into this criteria?
Thanks for the question.
So yes, it
Joy,
does directly apply to that project.
Okay.
There are deferments and discounts for them.
Okay, so he'll be able to go on to that 5-year one that he can put it in now and then pay over the 5 years? Is that the one, or am I asking you unfair questions?
Okay, I'll defer to our treasurer, please.
Yes, provided that at the time the building permit application is received, that the development meets the requirements of the Development Charges Act. So there's specific requirements like number of units, and if he meets the 4-unit criteria and it is purpose-built rental housing, then he would fall under the deferred and discounted development charges. So it's over 5 years after occupancy.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we were looking after it because I've had a whole lot of questions on it, and so I knew you'd be right on top of it, but thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Any additional questions or comments on this? Seeing none, thank you very much for this report. We have nothing under planning today. We'll move on to the building department. Under 8.1 is the Chief Building Officials Report. Supplied by Joy. Again, it is for information purposes. Do we have any questions on this report? Seeing none, 8.2 is the Sutton/Moon Limiting Distance Agreement. Again, we've received a report supplied by our CBO, Joy Lindsay. Are there any questions on this? Deputy Mayor Vanstone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and you'll think I'm kind of dense, but so is this agreement between the township and the owners, or is this between the two owners to get this closer together?
Thank you. Joy, please.
So the agreement is primarily between the adjacent owners. However, it must be also made with the township so that it can be made a legal binding agreement that is on record with us.
And if I may then, so how would this work if, so say Anita and I had an agreement between us and we're closer together than we were, and I sell my half and the new guy doesn't want that. Is that binding still because of the township having him being in on that? Thank you.
Correct. It is binding to the next owner.
Thank you. CAO, please.
It's registered on title.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? If not, I will ask for a show of hands if we were in support of consideration of this in section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. Under administration, we have the North Huron Fire Agreement for 2026 to 30. Are there any questions on this agreement? And seeing none, I will again ask for a show of hands if we were in support of consideration of this in section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. We have the water report under 10.1. It is for information purposes from Veolia. The operations and maintenance report. Are there any questions on this? Seeing none, we have the annual 2025 drinking water system and compliance summary reports for Ben Miller, Century Heights, Dungannon, Huron Sands, Lakeshore, and the Lucknow drinking water system. Again, it is for information of council. Are there any questions on this? And if not, we will require a motion to accept the reports. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder, and that would be Councillor Miltenberg moves. Deputy Mayor Vanstone seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby accepts the 2025 annual water reports as submitted for the Ben Miller, Century Heights, Dungannon, Huron Sands, Lakeshore, and Lucknow drinking water systems. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We have nothing under drainage today. We'll move on to Public Works. 12.1 is the weekly waste pickup. And this item has been added to the agenda at the request of Deputy Mayor Vanstone. We do have a 5-year contract in place. And to have any discussion on this, we would have to have a mover and a seconder for reconsideration. And they would have to have voted in favor of the acceptance of this report. So I will open it up if anyone would like to move a discussion on this. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves, Councillor Snoblin seconds. And you're both in favor of this at the initial meeting. Is that correct? Okay. All right. So we have a motion for reconsideration of this for future meeting. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. You're good with that? So this will come back to a future meeting. 12.2 is the Ashfield landfill fees, the consolidated bylaw. Do we have any further questions on this? We have had a discussion on this. I will ask if we're all in support of this for consideration as a bylaw by a show of hands, please. And that is carried. Thank you. Council reports. Does anyone have any council reports that they would like to share at this time? And I'll go first to Councillor Milton.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to apologize right now because I have a puppy who's very happy in his crate until he hears me speak. So you might hear something. You will see minutes there further on down, and maybe we should discuss it further on down. I'm not sure. There is a meeting coming up about what's on the agenda further on down, which is the St. Helens report. So wherever you'd like to talk about it is fine with me.
Yeah, we'll probably discuss it at that point. Is that okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Any other committee reports? Councillor Forster, please.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. I had 2 meetings last week. The first one on March 9 was doctor recruitment for Wingham. There's a new surgeon coming in August of 2027. And they have a few prospects that still have a year of school in the future. And Dr. Bazuzu was paid incentives for moving. That was pretty much it for that. And the next day I went to CHIP committee. They handed out these. So you put this on back of gravity boxes and stuff. So if anybody wants one, Kayla Bishop had a growers meeting and I sent a bunch to her for people to hand out. Just makes people more aware when they're passing you to think about it twice. And they also handed out the new ATV or ORV maps, and I left a bunch here at the township. Evan had got some, so. And we also talked about accidents at corners in the county, and one of the hot spots for Huron County is 4 and 86. So I guess the traffic lights really don't help, but that blew me away that when there's a lot of other corners in the county too that are bad. So that's all about for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Wayne. Deputy Mayor Vanstone, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask Wayne, where would you pick up those signs? Because I do know a bunch of farmers that would probably want to have some.
So it's OFA in Clinton, their head office, or call me and I can get you some too. So, okay.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And it is good to have those on farm equipment. Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few comments about, on behalf of Maitland Valley, about the announcement that was made on March the 10th, as far as the conservation amalgamation. The March 10th announcement was not what we thought was coming that quick. In my opinion, it was a prime example of a decision that was already made before any discussion and public input was asked for. The original was going from 36 down to 7. They decided on 9. With no data showing the efficiencies that they claim that are coming towards them. And for example, the Toronto Conservation Authority keeps the same boundaries that it had before. It changes its name to, I believe, Central Lake Ontario is the new name of that conservation authority. And it's going to take over $1 million to rebrand that alone, just to change the signs and the letterheads and whatever else. And the boundaries stay the same. There's no change. One of the announcements was the upper tier and single tier governments will appoint the members to the board. So that takes someone from around this table out. Well, maybe not, I guess, if the mayor. So that goes to the county. And to my understanding, the funding will come from the counties also. So that will take that off our line next year for our budget, but add it to the county budget. They say 14,000 responses from Ontario were received. And they say they took them into consideration in this decision. And it reflected their decision. From the original proposal, they did 2 changes. They took Thunder Bay off our territory. So Thunder Bay is being left on their own now, which makes sense. Good for them. And they divided up Lake Erie section. Originally, Lake Erie was going to go from all the way down in the south, all the way across along the lakeshore over to Niagara, from Fort Erie down to Windsor. And they divided that section in half. So now there's a Lake Erie East and a Lake Erie West. So those were the 2 changes that they made from the 14,000 responses from the people of Ontario. And the board members coming to our new area are based on population, well, across the province, but based on population. So if you think of our population in Huron County versus top end of York, Durham, Simcoe County, Newmarket, Barrie, which we are a part of now, that might give you an idea of how far our board member could be taken care of. Could be Huron and part of Bruce. We don't know yet. It goes by population. So it's an announcement with no clear direction, and we just have to wait for further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And yes, it is disappointing for ACW because our conservation authorities are so important to us because of our lakeshore. and the erosion that we continually have in the preservation of our land. Will each county have a representative on this board or committee, to your knowledge, Councillor Hickey?
All we know now, it's, board members are based on population. So when you go the population of Grand Bend up to Tobermory and across and over to Newmarket, Lake Simcoe, they're heavily populated on that side. So I don't know if they'll have a requirement, they have to have one per county or what, that's not been announced yet. But going by population, we're at the bottom end of it.
Correct. Councillor Snowblin, please.
Thank you. Question to Councillor Hickey, or perhaps the council. Is it appropriate or prudent at this time to start working on a way to have more representation in an area as big as what is potentially going to be our area? And I'm thinking about, you're saying that it's based on population. So Huron County, you know, is quite a bit less population than, you know, York and the north end of York and so on. Is it prudent or thoughtful at this point to start petitioning or lobbying the government to examine that and base it upon geographic size, like square kilometers or something like that, so that we could possibly get more representation in this area? And if so, if you think that that is an idea to look at or examine, is it something that this council can start spearheading towards the Conservation Authority and further to maybe AMO or something like that?
Councillor Hickey, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a good idea. There's no sets, or I haven't seen numbers yet to what they say based on population, how they're gonna divide it up. As I said earlier, I don't know if there's a minimum to ensure there's somebody from Huron County on the table, or at the table, or whether they'll go by population and we have to go beyond the county limits in order to get a representative for us. So there's no clear layout yet of how we're gonna go about, but I don't think it's too early to start. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Then,
please.
if that's the case, in your opinion, you think that's prudent or worthwhile examining, where would you suggest we start with that this council maybe approach the current Conservation Authority to look at that a little deeper? Or should we maybe start petitioning the lower tiers in Huron County and in Bruce County and some of the neighboring counties as well? Just seeking your opinion on that, how we might start that process.
Councillor Hickey, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have not had a face-to-face since this announcement. I have a Maitland Valley meeting tomorrow night, so I'll get a better understanding tomorrow night. So maybe if I can hold on to that till next meeting, and we can get a better understanding of where Maitland Valley is and all of our members are.
I know you're a good advocate for that Conservation Authority, so I trust you'll do all you can to help us out.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Any further discussion on this topic? Okay, and any further committee reports? I did attend the Huron County Chamber of Commerce meeting on the 10th of March, and it was a privilege to swear in Ken Zelazny from the Bluffs as the new president of the Chamber of Commerce for Huron County. It was a well-attended event, and also good presentations from Habitat Humanity at that meeting. I also brought opening comments at Young Canada Week on behalf of ACW last Friday night in Goderich. This is the 75th anniversary for Young Canada Hockey Week, and the hockey is quite exceptional. And actually last night there was a game between the Toronto Maple Leafs alumni and past participants in the Young Canada Hockey Week from the Goderich and area. And it was a sellout crowd, good fun, and it is really, really good. We've had a lot of young people from ACW participate in the past and again in this year in the Young Canada Hockey Week, and it is certainly good for the youth and very positive for our area and beyond. Last night was also a Lucknow firefighter and Ripley firefighter award presentation that I join in presenting the awards to not only retirees, however, longtime members of the volunteer fire department. And again, I expressed our appreciation and gratitude on behalf of ACW and our residents to the volunteer firefighters for what they do on our behalf. And the firefighters actually themselves raised enough money to buy a drone. And this drone will be used in fires to examine the situation internally in a building without a human being having to go in. And it is a really life-saving and also safer way to assess a situation than what has been used in the past. And that was all, money was all raised by the firefighters to purchase that. So with that, we will move on. Any questions or comments? Not, we'll move on. Is there anything under new business that anyone would like to bring forward to a future meeting? Seeing none, we have an item for correspondence for direction, and that is an invitation from the Huron County Federation of Agriculture for local politicians forum. It was canceled last year because of the federal election. However, it is being held on the 27th of March, and we have been provided the invitation for 2 members to attend. I am available to attend, and was there anyone else that would like to attend that? It is on the 27th of March. It should be a Friday, and it is down at the Clinton Legion from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And at this time, is there anyone else that would like to attend that on behalf of ACW? Councillor Hickey would? Okay. And council's all in support of that? Okay, thank you very much. Look forward to that. Under correspondence for information, there are 3 items. One is the Conservation Authority under 16.1, Property Standards, Native Plant Gardens under 16.2, and the St. Helens Board minutes under 16.3. Is there anything that anyone would like to discuss? And I'll go to Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. So if you look at that minutes, these minutes actually haven't been approved yet. We haven't had a official meeting since then, but I asked them to be put on. And by the way, as far as I can tell, they're correct, so you shouldn't get them again. It's item number 12. The ramp is getting in a deteriorated condition. It does not supply handicapped access to the hall. In winter, due to the snow load, this creates a problem. Jennifer would take this to council. The reason I'm taking it to council is this actually was, they brought it up in conversation last year because the ramp at the front, Ron Snowden did a good job repairing it, but it actually, as far as I can tell, is not up to the current code. It also proved the last fish fry, I believe, in February, the water was all pouring on the ramp, which makes it very slippery. At that point, the building committee, again, which Ron was the head, was going to look at maybe we now have cement at the back door, if maybe it could be more accessible if they did something different. Either way, it's a structural job. And I mentioned that at the time that they could bring in some opinions, but we would have to go to council with it. So I think at this point with what's going on over there, it is still an issue. It is a public building that is not up to code. My feeling at the time, and again, there's a meeting in like 2 weeks, that they would be happy to contribute some of their reserves towards it. But I think the scope of the project is beyond them. And I also think that the code that they would have to meet is probably beyond what a normal not maybe normal, but you know, it's a public building and there might be higher standards that they're not aware of and the building codes will have changed. So I'm suggesting that we give this back to the township to figure out what can be done or should be done by the provincial standards that we are supposed to keep, and then, you know, come back with a number and see what we can do. But I think I wouldn't say the seriousness of having an inaccessible public building, I think it's the township council should make sure it's done correctly. And that's what I told them. So that's what I'm bringing back to council.
Okay, thank you for that. CAO, do you have any comments on this, please?
Yeah, so this is the first time I'm hearing this, so I'm gathering my thoughts. So first of all, I think our chief building official could be involved in the process to ensure that that whatever their proposal is the plans are and they conform with the building code. And then I think the committee would need to meet after they have Joy, the CBO, look at the project to see what should be done and recommendations, and then possibly they can go get quotes and things like that, and then accept the quotes. And if they're willing to contribute their dollars raised towards it, and maybe the municipality might be able to assist with that as well. I'm sure we have a reserve for facilities as well that we could draw from, because we've already passed our budget on this particular item, because we weren't aware of this at the budget deliberations. So I think after gathering my thoughts, I think that's what I have to say, and I can answer other questions that come up.
To continue that then, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, please, Councillor Miltenberg.
Just on the matter of process. So we would have Joy come forward and say what needs to be done. And, you know, I think Joy, the option would be to look at the rear of the building, which might be a cheaper, easier fix than redoing the front ramp, because it is right on the road. I'm not even sure if you could. I mean, you know, I don't. And then the board looks at that, decides which they'd like. And when they get tenders, I'm assuming it's going to be over $5,000. So is there a tendering process that they need to do? I'm just looking to wonder how I'm giving them direction to do it.
Thank you for that. CAO, please.
So I think Joy would meet at the facility with someone who's very knowledgeable on the facility and what their plans are, and come back with a proposal or possible proposals, take it to the committee to decide on what proposal they want. And I would suggest that proposal come back to this council here, and then at least this council has their eyes on to see what the plan is, and the municipality would take the lead on providing the tender, because I don't expect the committee to have hands-on knowledge of submitting tenders out there. And we would call for tenders or quotations, whatever staff feels is appropriate way, and deal with it. And when we receive the tenders and quotations received, we share with the committee first and let them take a look at it and see what their thoughts are, and then council will put their final blessing on it.
To continue, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I like all this. The only caveat I would say is the most knowledgeable person of the building is no longer available. So we'd maybe have a few people there, but they might need a little more direction than they normally would. If that sounds reasonable to Joy.
CAO, please.
Yeah, I think that they don't need to have a knowledge of the building code or just to explain to Joy or the CBO exactly what their plans are. What would they like to see at the facility? So thanks.
Mr. Mayor, so it's okay if more than one person meets with Joy then?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're good to that. Anything, you're good with that, Joy? Perfect. Anything else anyone would like to discuss on correspondence for information? Seeing not, unfinished business is the Ogre Conference, March 29th to the 1st of April. Councillor Forrester and myself are planning to attend that. The AMO Conference, Councillor Miltenberg and myself in August. We'll move into bylaws now because we do have a closed session today. And the first would be the North Huron Fire Agreement. I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Blake moves, Councillor Forrester seconds. That leave be given to introduce bylaw number 17-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a municipal fire protection agreement between the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh and the Township of North Huron, and then it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 17th day of March, 2026. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. I thank you. 18.2 is a consolidated fee bylaw, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Hickey moves, Councillor Miltenberg seconds. The leave be given to introduce bylaw number 18-2026, being a bylaw to set various fees for the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and then it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 17th day of March, 2026. All in favor of this motion? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. 18.3 is the Sutton/Moon Limiting Distance Agreement, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor, Deputy Mayor Van Stone moves, Councillor Miltenberg seconds, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 19-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a limiting distance agreement between Krista Ann Sutton, Laura Moon Matthews, Henry Coltman, and George Kelvin Adams, Donna Marie Adams, and the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and that it now be read severally a first, second, and third time and finally passes 17th day of March 2026. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. We do have a closed session today, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder that we move into our closed session. Councillor Blake moves, Councillor Forrester seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council move into a closed session in accordance with Section 239 and brackets 2 and brackets C of the Municipal Act, with the CAO, clerk, and the Public Works Superintendent remaining in attendance at 9:30 a.m. for the purpose of discussing a proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality, being a public ownership of a private road. All in favor of this motion? That is carried. Hubby, we recess for 10 minutes. That will provide our clerk the opportunity to secure the meeting. And I would like to thank all members of the public for joining us this morning. And we are now in recess until 9:40. Thank you.